No one has a reflection when it comes to the elderly people that are in another stage of the life, but also need these cares. Who are the one who care them during these processes? We have already mentioned the person with disabilities. It could be permanent disabilities. It could be temporary disabilities, and sometimes the disabilities are also caused during this migration path, right? During these journeys, they are risking their lives, their well-being. So, do you have any other comments or group would you like to mention? Professor, maybe the environmental?
Maybe we can think that we have, in the case of migrant persons, we have one vulnerability in the base, and then we have another kind of vulnerabilities that Laila had mentioned.
Okay, so maybe I would also like to add that some groups, due to a personal identity, for instance, the members of the LGBTI community or some people that belong to certain religions, they also face a differentiated vulnerability. And from the perspective of the states, they have the duty or the reinforced duty to protect these groups. And this implies two things. First, that they have to identify and to think about the vulnerability, so they have to recognize, to be civilized, that these people is vulnerable, but also they have to mitigate the consequences, so to take any active measure to change the situation that has an impact on their human rights. So there are a lot of global instruments that were addressed and developed to protect these specific groups. We would not spend more time on that, but we have selected some news and photos so that we can better illustrate how vulnerability is seen and how can we appreciate it, right? So the very first photo is actually a new. It was a boat almost sinking in the Mediterranean coast. It has something like 400 people in the boat, and the boat was running out of fuel. So in this scenario, the Italian authorities and the Maltese authorities were discussing about which of these would help these migrants. So migration has also a lot to do with cooperation, right? And at the very end, the Italian government has managed the biggest rescue in the recent years. And these incidents also can highlight and call our attention on how migration requires these collective efforts. The second image is both heartbreaking and shocking. It's this sad story of Alan Kurdi, the Syrian 3-year-old child that was killed, drowned in a Turkish beach. And this photo is really sensitive because once it was trending topic and everyone talked about it, right? But now it seems that everyone has forgotten about it. And I think it's interesting that the family, this child, his mom and his 5-year-old brother, they all dead during this journey. And the only one that survived was the father, and his family was calling for this picture not to be forgot, and for this picture to be a reminder on how we are abandoning or being silent on what is happening. Thousands of children continue to die till today, and the world remains silent. So this was a symbol of the pain we had. Would you like to ask anything? Does anyone want to comment on this photo? On those photo and news? I will later share with you this canvas so that you can check the news and the photos and you can have it all. What can you see in this photo? What can you identify? Previously, we talked about children, people fleeing in boats. And in this one, what would you say? What would you guess? No comments. Well, we can see two things, right? In one, we can see a lot of women and children that belongs to an indigenous community that is disproportionately affected by climate change. And this is something that he has mentioned, how these communities or this population are forced to be or displaced within the very same country to another one. And how the existing vulnerabilities that the professor said, the ones that we already have, are coexisting with the new ones that you start to have when you embark yourself in this migratory journey. What happens then? Who would guarantee your food, your care, your access to health, the special needs of the children? And also we have in the other photo people from Venezuela on their way, right? And we can see that another, like a woman is taking care of another elderly woman. So we have this gender discussion also. Mostly women are the caregivers, the primarily caregivers. And would you like to ask something? Maybe the last one. And the last one before we start our working group session. These photos and images were here in Rio Grande do Sul. So as most of you might know, last year we faced dramatic floods that caused a lot of more than 500,000 displacement within our state, but also that submerged our state. It could be maybe illustrative if you think that geographically almost the size of the UK was submerged. So it's a lot, right? It seems, okay, Brazil is huge, but you think of this, all this area was submerged, and these above average rains caused a lot of displacements, caused a lot of suffering, and make us also think about how these climate change events reconfigures migration and displacement. And also these floods reveal some inequalities. We have, when we began, you mentioned the living conditions. It is really dramatic to think that these floods affected us in an unequal manner. The very first part of the cities that were affected were habited by the poorest people. It has also to do with race, with black people residing in those areas. It has also to do with economic wages. And this has to do with the tools we develop or not to get responsive to this new phenomenon.
And has to do with there is another point, key point there. It's the problem of the cities of the global south and the way in which we had built these cities, well, there is a very, very important problem. And what do you think about that? We are changing because we are talking about a disaster. You know, we are talking about a different type of migration. You know.
Oops, I said a spoiler earlier before then. But you see, I didn't quite realize that this happened to me. I didn't make the connection. I said about Tuvalu, Vanuatu, and I forgot that happened to me last year. The same time last year, last May, that happened here. The city was completely, not completely, but partially underwater. So does anyone have a comment? I didn't see any raised hands. I'm sorry.
I would also add some information that could raise more our awareness about that. The World Bank report is warning everybody that if the climate conditions continue to be as as they are, by 2050, so in 25 years, we would have something like 140 million people displaced due to environmental reasons. And these people would of course be from the global south, from Latin America, but also from Southeast Asia and also from Africa. So we would be facing a huge problem, right? Because we have these environmental discussions and we have these collective actions, but we would also have to face and to respond to this phenomenon, to this migratory flow, and we are somehow impaled or in the debate. So does any one of you want to have any comment and give a word?
In Germany, there was flooding, right? I saw news on that.
Yeah, in Poland too. Last year in September, we had also a flood, and I think it was a topic since like the last 20 years. We knew about it, that the climate change will come if we don't do anything, and so now we also cannot be surprised that we have this problem of migrants that have to leave because of the climate changing, and yeah, as a person that knew it, like believed it since I heard about it, I am not surprised that we have to manage something like this, and I'm surprised that people are surprised that now they're thinking about that we have to manage it, and they don't know how to manage it. Like, we knew it, and yeah, I don't know how to comment it.
Thank you very much for your comment. I think that one thing that is very interesting here with these photos is that the geographical dimension that is behind this situation, because we are talking about a local situation, and before that we were talking about migration as a problem between states, and national states. And then we have these photos that show us that there is another dimension, another geographical dimension of the problem of migration.
So, please.
We had another question here before.
Okay, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I was thinking about two problems that come with migration in the context of climate change. The first one being that, as far as I'm aware, climate change, under the definition of a refugee that the UN, I think, set out, and after the Second World War, climate change is not considered a part of being a refugee. And the second one, at least within Europe, I don't know whether that's true in other contexts, this narrative of, oh, there are going to be hundreds of millions of people fleeing because of climate change is used by right-wing parties, but also, honestly, mainstream parties, to kind of foster an anti-migrant rhetoric and kind of translate that into practices of building securitized borders.
I had just a question concerning the notion of local, having a local perspective. I would ask you, local or geopolitical perspective? Because when I see this, and when you highlight that the main targeted peoples come from Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, why? This makes me think that this is not local. This is a geopolitical, historically produced problem.
Well, thank you very much. What I am trying to do is to put in our discussion some categories. One of these categories that is very important in the discussion about displaced people, persons, is the category of internal displacements and international displacements of people. And that shows that internal movement of people exist, and it's very, very important. It's a very important problem. And then, as you said, it's not a problem that concerns only to Brazil or to Argentina or to the countries of Latin America. You can find this kind of situation in the whole global South, and from this point of view, you have reason. It's a geopolitical problem and not a local problem. But what I am trying to do is to say, well, people, we have to use some categories to talk, because it's necessary, to use some categories to think about the problem. And our other colleague, I thank you very much for your comment. It's very, very important. That shows, your comment shows that the law field is very, it's very important sometimes, and because we distinguish the term refugee, and we don't use the term refugee to talk about these kinds of migrants. In the case of the person that have to move because of an environmental situation, or we use the term displaced people, or persons displaced, but not refugee. That we have to use refugee when we are talking about movement in the obliged by political reasons, not by a environmental reason.
Yeah, the definition for the refugee would be actually in the UN 1951 Geneva Convention on the Refugee Status. But there is still this discussion whether the law as a tool from our files, we could protect these environmentally displaced people, and whether we can create any kind of instrument as a tool to address these vulnerabilities, this specific situation, and to ensure that they can have the same access to their human rights. So Professor Gonzalo Soso has been working with the International Center for Comparative Environmental Law, which is an international NGO, right, Professor? And they have been working for something like 20 years on a draft of a convention that is addressing this very specific thing we're discussing. So he would also share with us some insights, and then we would have these working groups, which involves also to think, or would invite you to think, which tools from your fields you can share. So maybe you can keep that in mind while we hear to him. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I will briefly introduce, we haven't got a lot of time, I will briefly introduce this draft convention for the protection of persons displaced for environmental or climate reasons. I think it's important for me to talk 2 minutes or 3 minutes about this project, because I think that shows very clearly how law is trying to advance in relation with the problem of displaced person, vulnerability, and belonging. And well, in the we all know that there is a very important gap in international law today that must be filled urgently with regard to the situation of persons displaced or at risk of displacement for environmental or climate reasons. This is why in 2014 the International Center for of Environmental Comparative Law, an NGO, as you said, composed of environmental law professor with more than 40 years of existence, has taken on the challenge to develop and promote a draft convention on environment and climate displaced persons. And the early version of this draft convention, I think that have two important insights. The convention worked with two key problems. Firstly, how is the protection system for displaced persons or those at risk of displacement organized? And secondly, what can the project contribute to better integration and belonging of these displaced persons? We have to go directly to these points. If they can take a look in the web page of the CDEA of this project. It's not the last version of the draft convention. It's the previous one. But if you take a look to this project of convention, you can find that in relationship with the problems of vulnerabilities, Article 6 says that we will try to organize the protection of this group of displacement persons for environmental reasons with a set of rights. A set of rights that are common to the person that are at the risk of displacement or in the situation of displacement. And it's a very important set of rights. I have to pass very quickly, but the right to protection and humanitarian assistance, the right to safe, dignified, and planned relocation and resettlement, the right to freedom of movement, the right to drinking water, sanitarization, and adequate food, the right to access to basic necessities, the right to access medical care, right to dignified housing, right to choose one resident, and right to recognition of legal personality. In summary, as I mentioned, protection is built through a series of interconnected rights, and this is very important. But because what we are trying to do is to protect people in the situation of this new vulnerability. And what is more important for me is to talk 2 words about the way in which this draft convention contribute to belonging, you know. And well, the only thing I will say is that we worked with the idea of non-discrimination as a principle and as a right, and then to the protection of some cultural rights for people. For instance, the right to education and the access to training, and the right to maintain their own cultural identity. And I think that these 2 problems, law is trying to work these 2 phases of the problem of migration, the problem of the protection of migrant people, and the problem of the belonging. And then well, this is an essay. It's not it's only a draft convention, but we are trying to protect the people in this particular situation, that it's not the situation of the refugees, and to help to build the belonging of these communities to the new place in which they are.
So
We are finishing this presentation, and then
So we would like to also invite you to work in groups now. This whole presentation of professors also could be think also as a tool, which is one of the proposed questions, and we have somehow think a bit more about the law responses, since we both come from law, right? But please try to address and to think in these ways to address migration from your field. So from history, you may have your own perspective. You will receive texts that were selected, and two of them are pieces of literature. So one is from Isabel Allende. We have tried to keep it diverse. So please, maybe you can be four. You can also find the questions. We are worried about the time here. Could you identify any vulnerability or vulnerabilities within the text? How would you name it or them? This is something you might identify quickly. And then what possible tools would you propose from your field to address these vulnerabilities? We expect that you can summarize your contributions in 1 or 2 sentences, and you can access in this QR code, in this code, you can access our online shared document, and you can write it directly, right? So we will give you the text. The text is also available in the app. I think some of you might prefer to use it like online, so you have it, or if you want to keep it later. And we also have some printed copies. So please. Do you want to print it? Yeah. But we are eco-friendly, so we don't have for all printed copies. Yeah, but it's later it's changed. It's in the OneDrive. Sorry, it's in the OneDrive. The OneDrive, but you also have access, right? Sí, es diferente. Okay. ¿Cómo te desdigas? Es que así, por ejemplo. We need like 6 groups. We can have 6 groups. We have 6 selected.
Do you want help? How do I help?
You can help me, but we need to. You're working with.
Okay, groups of how many?
3 or 4. But this is the same. I think. Who are you working with?
it was terrible. When we arrived to my presentation, we haven't got always like this.
Yes, all events.
The music, 2 groups or just 1?
I'm going.
Maybe it could be 2 groups.
I'm going out. So that's why.
And he's not joining you?
And you are from here, from the city.
Not Turkey, the federal one.
Maybe it would be interesting if you could have 2 groups.
I am coming
Because
from
it's like small groups.
I am from
You can have this also.
from Santa Fe,
And
the National University.
Text going to be handed out. No. It's the entire thing. Oh, I see. Okay. They couldn't read everything right. So it's only this one. Okay.
Profesor, disculpa que te apure en un momento, pero con bien el horario ya me comienza a preocupar. Porque,
Aparte, no.
porque queda media hora.
No, si yo te iba a decir de no decirlo.
No.
Yo te iba a decir no decirlo. Escucha, una cosa que tenemos que decir es, claro, ¿y cuál es el objetivo?
So please note that we will have 20 minutes. They will control it, and we expect that you can summarize it for our collected output in 2 sentences or more. Feel free to write as much as you want. Yeah, you can write it there, please. And each of you would have also a spoken person that could address your conclusions and also talk about your text, right? Feel free. Is in the OneDrive, the text. The app. We can write it for you otherwise.
Lo que hay que decir. I think we must say that we are expecting 2 sentences
Sí.
as a recommendation.
Yeah, just say it again. You can say it.
No, pero ya se lo dijiste o no.
Sí, le dijimos que esperamos que pongan 2, pero activa el micrófono y decirle de nuevo.
What kind of sentences, no?
Yeah, maybe aclararle.
As if we are talking with someone that have to take a decision.
La cosa es que al comienzo nadie participaba y tú comenzaron a participar un montón ya podíamos explicar.
No, pero mejor acá que participe.
Sí, pero al momento me
Cumplir con
comenzaron a
el...
mirar allá tipo el tiempo y yo corro de así.
Claro, pero es mejor que cumplir con el orden de la presentación, que ellos vayan intervenir.
Apertar o botão.
No funciona.
Sim, tem que apertar com força.
¿Sí? Ah, tá.
Agora sim.
Pois é.
Desculpa, o senhor estava falando?
A gente tá um pouco demorado.
See, what we are expecting, I want to say to them that we are expecting 2 sentences or 3 ideas as if they are trying to make some recommendations to someone.
Do you want to intervene? Or
Yes,
if
I
you want
think
me
you
to
can.
do it, I can do it. I've been doing this since morning.
I don't know.
So they're
I don't
used
know
to
if
me.
it is necessary or not.
Yeah, I think you can do it.
And I don't know because maybe they want to be more free to do
As a
in the way as
I think.
as a
as a
recommendation.
recommendation.
Sí.
The workshop is yours, but I'm
Yes,
battling.
Yeah.
If it is to say something, maybe a suggestion.
I think.
Maybe to guide, because otherwise they can be very
Yeah, they
lost.
can be. Yeah, maybe it's good if you can just. I will just keep these questions later.
Yeah, but maybe someone should say something. There are 2 or 3 contributions are being expected.
Yeah, I already said that, but we can.
Ah,
You
you
can
said?
mention. Yeah, you can mention it again, please.
Do you want to say it? I can say it. I'm here for that.
Sorry, we are what the final result that we are expecting of our work there. It's 2 or 3 ideas, 2 or 3 sentences as recommendations of how to treat these kinds of questions and problems that we were talking about before. Okay, but 3 or 4 lines. Thank you.
Banner vai chegar. Pôster, banner de uma aluna que mandou em tempo, mas ele estava desconfigurado. E quando imprimiu ficou desgastado. Ela vai me dizer quando chegar o pôster. E daí eu saio ali rapidinho. Mas como a Isabelle está aqui...
Que pena que tu chegou tarde, mas tu pode trabalhar, fica em qualquer grupo, Isabelle, fica aí. Tipo, vai participar.
pressão de ajuda de alguma forma?
Não, participa do grupo em qualquer deles.
Tá,
Toma, pega
e a
um
questão,
desses, que aí
Laila,
tu tem todos os textos.
Yo creo que eso está. I think that
do tempo.
and we have to pass from the
Sim, é bom. Mas eu só queria perguntar a questão do tempo. São 20 minutos de
Ia ser
discussão.
40, não? Porque a gente começou
E
de que hora?
depois é o quê?
E
Quanto
depois
tempo
eles
de
vão
quê?
partir.
Tá, mas não vai ter pleno de novo?
Vai vai
discutir?
dependendo.
Mas quanto tempo vai durar?
Vai durar 5 minutos, em teoria, por cada um. We are in our last 5 minutes. So 2 minutes. We are on the countdown, the final countdown. Yes. You have to choose your spoken's representative also. So we are on time. How are you doing? How it's going? Okay, you can have 2 minutes then, because we are running out of time. We are so sorry. But then you have these 2 minutes, and then we will discuss briefly.
If we are talking about 3 minutes, it's okay. 3 minutes. Not more than 3 minutes.
So the time is almost ending. We How are you going? No. No tenemos más tiempo. Esta gente está con todas las discusiones, pero no. Ay. No, antes a las 3:20 nos tenemos que ir. Y esta gente que vino para hablar. Estas dos y el... So, guys, we need you to return to our discussions so that we can reach some agreements before the end. Could you write your sentences on the document? No? maybe we can just write them together as we did before, But then you would have like the spoken person and who would present your conclusions, right? So who would like to begin? I would like you to first say which text you were awarded. So some of you had like the text from Isabel Allende, El viento conoce mi nombre. Others had like, sociological text. So maybe you can just say that and your considerations, and then we write the sentence. Who wants to begin? So that it's I know you want to continue the discussions, but unfortunately, we don't have more time. Okay, we got volunteers. So wait, 1 minute.
So we had a text called Strangers at Our Door, written about migration to Europe in 2015 and the sort of open door policy. And we discussed a few things, one of them being that this text sort of characterizes migration to Europe as a phenomenon beginning in 2015, which we didn't necessarily agree with, and that one of the sort of functions of that is it sort of sidelines the people, the migrants that it is discussing and the actual discussion of them. So there's not any quoting of migrants. There's sort of discussion of these groups that they call remnants. So that's one way of making them vulnerable. Willie used the word objectification. So yeah, not actually censoring the subjects of study, and also presenting migration in 2015 as a new phenomenon. He also writes that 2015, quote, he quotes a director who says, will come to be seen as the year in which the movement of people into and out of the country became finally and indissolubly Europeanized. And we didn't actually know what that means. What is a Europeanized migration? Yeah, that was our discussion.
Okay, so
And yeah, we had our contribution was that
the first one.
yeah, the sidelining of migrants and a discussion about them.
Could you read it?
Yes, so we said that one of the vulnerabilities is the sidelining of migrants in a text that is ostensibly about migrants. And the contribution would be to center both migrants and consider the historical legacies of migration, and so not to sort of make it out to be a uniquely contemporary phenomenon, but rather a longer one.
I have a question. So you have mentioned we also pick some polemic text. We do not necessarily agree with what they are reading on them, but you have mentioned this European perspective. Do you think this text would have any dialogue with the stereotypes?
I mean, the category of European, I think, is already not a total descriptor. Like, it's sort of using itself as a replacement. Like, it talks about a Europeanization of migration, but also Germany has open borders while the UK has closed borders, for example. Very different policies, very different histories with migration. So Europeanization isn't actually, I think, the most useful category. And I think it's sort of a replacement for a more ethnic understanding of migration.
And which vulnerabilities could you identify in this text within your discussions?
The main vulnerability we identified was that migrants themselves were not actually centered as people in the text. So it discusses migrants as quote unquote remnant communities. They're not actually, not interested in migrants, but rather policies affecting migrants and views on migrants themselves, which serves to make them rather voiceless, which is a vulnerability.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. So do you think maybe your title could be migrant-centered discussion when it comes to migration? Person-centered, human-centered, how would you title your contribution? Or you can just think a bit and then we return to that.
Sure.
You can modify it online. Okay. So the next one, please. The next volunteer.
Yeah, we had the text Memoirs of a Boy Soldier. For the vulnerabilities, we identified a few different things. So there's language. So the boys have some exposure to English through like television, but that like clearly they're not fluent in it or anything. They don't seem like they've had a language education. Just their age is one of them. They're off on their own as youth, isolated from adults. We also noticed some like racial segregation is mentioned. So there's like a divide between like white people in Africa and then like them as like black African children. And a few different ways to address these issues. It's like we had this like solution-oriented approach to it. So like funding host families for child refugees, so preferably somebody with familiarity with their language or culture, language education with immersion, integration into the host culture, and also like addressing this issue with like classrooms in that host culture, so it's not just like, so from a young age, people don't see migration as this, migrants as like this separate group isolated from them. I think that's all we had.
So thank you a lot for your comments. Is this your contribution, the second one? Vulnerabilities are the dehumanization. Is this yours? No? Okay, we can construct yours. You have mentioned the ethnic identity as something that is related to vulnerability, and also the family topic, which is really a key point when it comes to migration and to migrant children, as in your case. So how would you summarize this contribution? How would you say or settle this recommendation to address migration? We all know it's so hard. We are trying to, but we really would like to have this output together, so you can think it and discuss it and then add it here. But I will just keep these two ideas in this number 2. Okay. Any comments on that? No. So the next volunteer, courageous one, who is going now? I know you're all tired. I'm sorry that we don't have much time.
Yeah. Okay, so this text was a story about a family, like a mother and a child who was like evacuating from the El Salvador because of like physical danger and trying to find protection in the States. But they were denied by the like official in the States, who said to them that like every criminal, every like migrant is criminal, so like you were not supposed to enter the country. And then like they were eventually like separated, never being able to say goodbye to each other. And I think like two kinds of vulnerabilities are represented in this text. So first, this child, it's so small that he cannot even understand like what is happening around him. But then like he was separated from his mother, and he was like interrogated like from the official as if he were an adult, like, and then like he was forced to make a decision like if he like voluntarily like wants to like go back to his country or not. So he was kind of like forced by the official to say that he wants to go back to his country, but actually like he's so small that he cannot like make a decision like by himself. So that is a kind like what kind of vulnerability. And also like this mother, she herself is also like suffering from like this like physical danger, like evacuating from her own country and then like seeking protection in the States. But then like she's also at the same time like occupied with the idea that she has to like protect her own child. So and then like because of like this so it kind of like complified the situation as well. So this kind of two kinds of like vulnerabilities, like mother and child.
Okay, so you have bring some.
I would like to add something.
Please.
I think one thing we agreed upon is if you see the attitude of officials, first of all, the policy is like, try to get rid of them. Doesn't matter how, just try to get rid of them. So to us, it seems like, wow, they are being tortured. If it's food, if it's a physical situation, if it's to separate the mother and the daughter, because the daughter did not disappear just occasionally. The mother was taken into interrogation from a specific official place, and when the mother came back, the daughter was gone. So some official took her. She didn't vanish. And it seems like the lawyer in this text, I didn't understand if he's an official lawyer or is it some volunteering organization. But it seems to me that the efforts, the economic spend of money, if it is official, it's doubling. So on one side, they're trying to get rid of them. On the other side, they're trying to be human. So there's no really policy. That's the way I think. The refugees are like toys. Yes, like everybody's playing with them.
So thank you for sharing with us your thoughts and reflections. So I have written down 2 keywords. You have referred to the treatment they have been given, but also to this possibility of express themselves and to explain what do they need. They are seeking for protection. In this case, the Isabel Allende story is they are actually asylum seekers, right? We have settled that we are all migrants in the big kind, and we have very specific kinds. I would like to ask you, which are the possible tools to address these vulnerabilities? Maybe the other groups can rethink and also add about that point. You have mentioned the legal aid, like this legal assistance. This could be one of the tools, but maybe we can think on other tools from your other fields. We have someone from history also. I think this could be interesting about their narratives, and maybe we can add it to your contributions here. So what would you add like as a tool and your sentence, or maybe have you written the sentence here, or we can write it together?
Or sorry, or maybe you can express this idea in terms of rights. Which is the right behind your idea? You know?
The right of the asylum seekers?
Yes. You know?
Human attitude.
If we want to protect the people in
Yeah.
this kinds of situation,
Yeah.
which will be the right that they have to
get.
Yes.
First of all, I think social aid, linguistic aid, because if they came from El Salvador, I don't know if they understand what people are talking with them. And I'm sure that in the US, everywhere else, it's not very difficult to find Spanish speakers. And policy is also a way of aid, because it is easier when you know in front what you are standing, and not this mixture of everybody is playing with them. And the legal help aid is definitely very important. So I think everything is aid: the social, the human, the basic physical conditions to let them stay in cold boxes for days without food, without anything. It seems like a real torture to me.
So the exercise was also, again, to try to sum up in 2 sentences, 1 or 2, a possible recommendation or suggestions that we can share in how to better understand and treat these migrants that are arriving. So maybe we can think together how we can write down this idea of yours. You have bring this treatment idea, listening idea, and possible tools. You have mentioned the linguistic necessary aid, and also the legal aid.
Legal aid, yes.
Maybe you can write it down.
You should write.
And
I don't have a
Andre.
telephone.
Okay, or we can do it together as you wish. And also and also you guys, the group from the memoirs of boys soldiers. Because we have only 4 groups, you are only one group? Yeah. Okay. We can.
Shall I?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Our paper was about the immigrants, Algerian immigrants in France, talking about their working conditions, and it was like a lot of quotations, and then the paper was basically talking about their conditions. I think we got the assignment wrong. We identified the problems, but we did not come with solutions. As you can see, we identified the vulnerabilities, their dehumanization, exclusion from society, categorization based on status, financial precarity, and lack of social security. These are the vulnerabilities that we were able to identify there. And we also talked about our own professions and how they helped us to identify them, like linguistic.
Group 1, Group 2, where are they? Group 1? It's you? Who's the spokesperson? Okay. Let's ask Márcio. Márcio? Where it's suits you best. But you just need to...
This is dangerous. This is dangerous.
You need to use the microphone to speak. You can stand wherever you wish,
Okay.
but you have to speak with the microphone.
And I should stand or can I sit?
As you wish.
Okay, I'll sit
You
down.
can... Wherever suits you best.
Oops. Should I read the case first?
You can make a brief summary of it and your results.
Okay, I'll read the case because it's just 3 sentences, so everyone is in. Okay, case 1 about Amira. Amira, a student from a rural background, uses an AI-powered personal statement generator to apply for an international graduate fellowship. The tool helps her craft a compelling narrative of resilience, ambition, and intellectual curiosity, all based on true experiences, but elegantly reframed by the AI. Her professors are amazed by the authenticity and eloquence of her essay. She wins the fellowship. Later, when she confesses that an AI helped her write the statement, a faculty member questions whether the award was earned by her or by the machine. Okay, we have a few thoughts. I'm just gonna share them. They're not that well structured or anything. Yeah, I think our main discussion surrounding this case study was on this question of equality and structural inequality. Because we notice that there's this idea that AI distorts an already equal system, that you use AI and then you kind of cheat. But there are other ways that people have used help throughout centuries. For example, if your parents also went to university, they will look over your application. So already, this is a case where you use help from, or you use your class background, for example, as a tool in order to kind of enhance your application. So we don't think that AI is the only problem in that sense, that there are bigger problems at stake, especially when it comes to academia and education. So I think our first kind of impression was that, yeah, this is actually, she used this tool in order to make up that she comes from a rural background, that English is not her first language, and in that instance, it is a form of empowerment. Although we also question this idea of empowerment by thinking about kind of the broader structural problems at stake here. I think this is kind of the overall. And then lastly, I think we were questioning whether we were imagining a different scenario where she could have used her own language to phrase her experience in the way that she feels comfortable with and not depend on another language and a certain way of talking about your motivation and why you want to join, for example, this fellowship. And that maybe would be more just in that instance. And we were also questioning whether AI is actually that eloquent and that authentic. Because, I mean, personally, if I read texts produced by ChatGPT, I'm always a bit struck by how bland and repetitive this actually sounds. So there you go. Lastly, I think we were supposed to come up with a sentence for a charter. What do you guys think? I think we haven't phrased it yet. Maybe if we can like think about it a bit more and from what you just heard, what do you guys think our contribution should be? Audience.
Empowerment, maybe, in some cases.
Do you guys want to say something? I guess it's important to look at the broader structural injustices within that influence how people use technology and AI. And that, yeah? Yeah, in that instance, she used this in order to kind of fit into a system that disadvantages her.
So consider the environment scenario where a person comes from, maybe?
Yeah. So
Want to go forward in the sentence?
sorry, I can't really see it.
Consider the environment / scenario where a person comes from.
And how that influences how the person uses AI, I guess.
And how the person uses
Yeah.
artificial
I think we didn't like the language of empowerment in that instance.
So it's not empowerment.
No.
So as a tool, artificial intelligence as a tool. In this
Yeah, maybe a
sense.
tool is better, yeah.
Okay, so maybe as a tool. Just together the clauses all together because we will have more suggestions.
It's not.
That's what you said, like maybe it can be used in this one.
Yeah, can we include structural inequality? It's
Where?
I'm
As a title?
Yeah.
Structural inequality. Okay. Okay. What's wrong? One. Okay. May we proceed to voting? Do you agree with this clause? Does anyone disagree? Let's ask. Or any modifications? Is it approved for the clause? As a clause for the charter? Okay, so one is approved.
Yay.
Thanks, group 1.
Okay.
Group 2. Where? Okay, Laila. I'll try. I don't know how to.
Group 2? Yes, thank you.
Do you know how to do that? How to make it bigger?
Oh, sorry.
All right, so we're group 2. I'll read the first couple of sentences if my desk doesn't flop down. So Tomas is a brilliant engineering undergraduate.
From my point of view, it was all fine.
He's a brilliant engineering undergraduate who struggles with writing due to dyslexia. He starts using an advanced AI assistant, not just for grammar correction, but to restructure his arguments and suggest new points. His final paper receives top marks and is praised for clarity. Is this a combination or unauthorized collaboration? So we were forming our discussion around a couple of Okay, all right, I'm back. We think educational institutions should regulate AI, but it's also really dependent on the context. We would like to preface this that none of us are in the field of engineering, and a field in language studies or any other field, including history. We would say using AI for grammar correction for learning a foreign language is not something that should be allowed, but in the field of engineering, it may look somewhat different if the focus is not grammar, but the quality of ideas. So regulating AI, but that's also dependent on the circumstances and maybe on the field. We were somewhat in agreement that here, if someone has dyslexia and is using AI for grammar correction, that is okay in this field. But restructuring arguments and suggesting new points, which is taking away the critical thinking skills and having the AI do the thinking for the student, that's where we think that is problematic. So regulation is extremely important, including maybe in class at the beginning of a semester, discussing how AI is appropriately used in the classroom. Because it's always going to be there, and if you take your students through a way that might be an appropriate use of AI for the field, that would be a good way of regulating this, but it really is contextual. I would not want my students to use AI for grammar correction in a German language classroom. Then they're not learning German. We think that skills and knowledge that are essential for students and researchers to understand the limits and possibilities of AI include critical reading skills, critical thinking skills, the ability to cite sources, knowing how to form and develop an argument, knowing when an argument is poor or weak, and knowing when to reject an idea, which is something that people might just take the idea of an AI and think because it's been produced, it's good, but that does not mean anything about the argument itself. We draw a line between suggesting new points and grammar corrections here, with suggesting new points runs the risk of academic dishonesty, because it's taking away the critical thinking skills of the student. And it's important that he is an engineering student, so rephrasing grammar in this context we thought was okay, but the line is completely drawn after that, where any sort of critical thinking skill has been done by the machine. We think the disclosure of AI should absolutely be mandatory, and also viewed as a contributor if you use it in any sort of context. And that leads us to our clause. I can read that slowly. We think it is good practice to cite all collaborators, including AI. And we believe that AI is not a replacement for developing thoughts and arguments on a research topic or in any, not a replacement for development of thoughts and arguments for any sort of research or field. Yes.
Any title for the clause? Do you have any suggestion if you want? It's optional.
Maybe citing contributions.
Great job. Thank you.
Keep voting. Is anyone against this clause? Oh, sorry. Is anyone against this clause or want to make some modification? Slash source. Okay. like this. So we may proceed voting with this, the inclusion of this word, or without it. Perfect. Okay, so the second with modification is now approved. Yes. Oh. Yes, sorry, Portuguese. Yes. Yes, please. Do you have any suggestions? No. All wrong. So we have to come up with a definition of it for a good charter. Does anyone have a suggestion? Collaborators. Anyone? Of course, we can still go forward in the writing during the event, but if anyone has some idea. And I would like to ask if there is anyone from the engineering field here. Is the person present? I don't think so. So, because it would be nice to have a vision, right? From the perspective of a person who is studying currently engineering, but it's fine. So, does anyone want to speak? Yes. Yeah, okay.
I don't know, maybe living being.
Living beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, including AI.
Well, one of our concerns is that when AI generates new ideas, quote unquote, it's often scraping work that's been done by people without citing it. So the idea of citing a collaborator is that if AI is generating new ideas, they're not actually new, and it's academic dishonesty to not cite your sources. So in theory, there shouldn't be an outcome here where somebody is citing ChatGPT's ideas, but it's grammar contributions.
Yes, okay.
I have a question. So for new ideas, would you cite AI or?
That would be against our line.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. No, I was thinking about what you said, that the topic is citing sources, citing collaborators, but if, for example, when you use ChatGPT, it's your chat. So if you cite that chat, then another person maybe asks the same question and the answer is another one. So you're citing something that actually not everyone can, look the source. So that's not a question, but a comment.
Yeah. So I see we have contrasting ideas here about what collaborators are. Are they only living beings, or could be tools as artificial intelligence? So we have this part of the definition of the charter. May we discuss more about it? Does anyone have a...
Yeah, I think, well, there's more AI than just ChatGPT. So I think that's a good example, but there are so many other sources that people use to work on projects that I think should be cited in any way. And that would be a collaborator that's not a living thing, just other sources of AI that people may use. My university, if we use like a citation tool, we need to cite the citation tool, and that's clearly not a living being, but that is a collaborator if you're using it to do your citations. So that's why I would be more inclined to not agree with collaborators over living beings. That's part of what a collaborator is, but it's not limited to only that.
Okay. Yes, do you want to speak one more time before voting? We may proceed voting next.
Oh yes, the recording.
The recording,
Indeed.
exactly.
That's interesting because at least what I've learned here in Brazil is that those more formal, or I guess like citation tools, we don't mention it as a collaborator here. So I think that may be a disconnection. So and furthermore, I think that we cannot think as AI, in my mind, thinking about what I previously said. There's a dichotomy, yes, between being a collaborator or a tool in that sense. So I think if anyone has anything to say.
Proceed voting to not invest so much time. Yeah, okay, please.
I think maybe we could think about the word collaborate as work, collaborate, work, together, work together. So does an artificial intelligence work together with a person actually, or it is something solitary?
And I also believe there's a difference between a source and a collaborator, which is fundamental also to the debate.
Yeah, that's the reason why I suggested the slash, collaborators, slash source.
Slash sources, okay.
Again, okay, let's do it.
Yes, so maybe proceed voting. If we have a majority, we can choose what will be here stated. Or if there is no majority, we can leave both, and then during the course of the event, we can edit the document. So my question is, do you agree that collaborators are only living beings? Who agree with this statement? One vote? 2 votes? I think we have. So I'm gonna ask the other way around. Collaborators are not limited to living beings, but also include tools. Who votes with us? Okay, so collaborators. Do you want to ask some other way around? Another phrasing? Yeah, of course.
I'll try to do the same thing this lady did, but in a little bit different. Somebody does some work, research. How does he sign? His name, comma, AI? It's a question. Maybe it's because I'm much older, you know, so. Yeah, you make a research and your collaborator is another human being, another professor, or you collaborated with AI, which his name is? Alexa? Zin, okay, whatever you want. Thank you.
Of course.
Can we just say citing collaborator sources and tools? And then we just don't even, like, that's kind of what we were going for. Good practice to cite all collaborators, sources, and tools. And then we can avoid the discussion. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Is the sentence approved?
It's okay? Okay.
We can avoid.
Thank you, group 2.
So let's
Okay, group 3.
Our case is the ethic of the perfect pitch. In a business school course, students must pitch a startup idea. Lucica and her team use an AI generator to create a sleek slide deck, design a logo, simulate market scenarios, and even write her pitch script. During the live presentation, they confidently answer questions, rehearsed with the AI simulated Q&A model. Their performance impressed the evaluators or teachers, but another team which developed their project from scratch complains we competed with a machine. The instructor hadn't clarified rules about AI use. So the first question is, should educational institutions allow, prohibit it, encourage, or regulate AI? And our group idea is we should allow and regulate AI because it's difficult to prohibit it, right? 'Cause everyone is using it. We're not cavemen. We live in the 21st century. And what skills and knowledge are essential for students and researchers to understand the limits and possibilities of AI? So I think first of all, the teachers or the researchers or the professors should be familiar with AI. They should do it first. So they could recognize whether this answer from the students is the original AI versions, or the student has some development or their own ideas based on the answers that AI provide to them. And the teachers should also have critical thinkings. If the students provide AI's answer, they can ask questions. What do you think of these answers? And some relevant questions that to prove whether the students have their own thinkings to this question, to their own contribution to these questions. Or our third question is, should creativity and effort be valued over polish and performance? And the answer is yes. Creativity and their own effort or their own contribution is much more than a good performance, because performance could be superficial and the idea cannot be replaced by others. The last question is, how do we evaluate learning outcomes when AI is part of the process? We think learning is good. As long as we learn something, it is also good for our human beings. When we say the dishonesty or how to say cheat by AI, but if you want to cheat your supervisor, you can cheat him or her anyway. You can pay maybe $1 billion to another scientist to write a perfect paper for you, or you can steal some ideas from your colleagues, your roommates, your friends, or other scientists. So if you want to cheat someone, you can do it anyway. Not AI. AI cannot be dishonest. Only we, human being users, can be dishonest. So when we want to read a paper or do a presentation, we just be honest that maybe my idea is based on AI, but what is the original part of AI's idea, and what is in what way is my idea different from the original idea that AI provides me? And that's all. I think so our class is be honest. Very short, be honest. Yeah, honesty. Yeah, that's even shorter is better.
Can I add something to what you said before about the one more sentence regarding our clause is we thought about the researcher as he's the leader. The AI serving humanity, not humanity serving AI. So when it's clear who is the leader and who is the aid, I think it's very clear. Okay.
So it's like this? Researcher as the leader? Yeah. As leader would be. Sorry. Serves humanity, not the opposite. Yeah? Same. Okay. So also transparency you mentioned. Do you want to wait?
No, it was just
honesty. So, honesty and transparency, maybe? Do you agree with the modifications? Oh, sorry. You mean like this? Like this? Oh. Like this? Okay, not here exactly. Sorry. We need AI here. Like this? Yeah. Ah! So, okay. It's approved. Is anyone against?
There. Is it approved or against? You have comments?
Have comments?
I have comments.
Okay.
I'm totally against the notion of serving humanity. It's too abstract. This does not exist. I think it could be instrumentalized by the powerful, most powerful, to the discourse of serving humanity, but serving their interests, what they say that serves humanity. I think we should say more precisely, serving the oppressed, serving the wrecked of the earth. Yeah, it's more in this sense. And I'm very troubled with the notion of researcher as a leader, as the leader. I think there's a hierarchy being maintained that makes me feel very troubled. I think the process should be led by the oppressed, not by the researcher. Yeah, the guider of the process must be the oppressed.
Okay. I have a lot
A
of
reply,
comments
a
there.
reply.
Okay,
Do you want
first there.
I think she wants to end. You want to speak?
But I disagree that AI serves the oppressed. It's the opposite, actually. And also thinking about but humanity, there isn't only one, right? Which humanities are we talking about, right? And also, I would like to add that's very anthropocentric. So I think I'm done.
No, I mean, no, I think most of the things that I want to say were already said here. I just want to say that what you said right now is really supporting the first group's claim, like that was the thing, like the honesty, the originality of the idea is more important than the tools. Yeah. I mean, yes, we are unhappy, but like there are a lot of things to be unhappy about what's going on in the world right now. And you, as you said, I completely agree. And this argument about humanity, it's a bit difficult language, and this is the reason that we are going through a lot of problems when we are trying to create laws. That's exactly the process that was happening. Someone's unhappy with one word, and then a whole argument will arise. Thank you.
I will add to what you said, because I feel like we are now talking about one term, but humanity is everybody, including the oppressed. And what we want to say is, how do we use AI? Are we letting AI leading us, the humanity, everybody from everywhere? Or is AI more important than us? When I say that the researcher is the leader, there's no, I don't know what, colonialism in it. There's only meaning that the researcher should use the AI in favor of any research for the benefits of humanity. And if the word leader is so problematic, offer another one. But the meaning is, who has the wheel? Yes, who is leading? Take it a car, okay? Who sits and the wheel is in his hand? The AI or the driver? So say the driver, whatever, if it's nicer.
Thank you.
Any suggestions?
Any suggestions?
To improve this clause? Darren, Professor.
Just a quick comment. Is this supposed to be a normative statement? Because we were just asking ourselves.
It's a charter, it's not law.
All right, because like when you say AI serves humanity, or is it AI is supposed to serve humanity, right? AI ought to serve humanity. AI should serve humanity as opposed to a descriptive statement.
Maybe an addition of the word mainly serves humanity, mainly the oppressed and wrecked.
It's mainly okay for you? Or including, maybe?
I don't know if I understand, but I think the discussion is still ongoing with that two words. So they want humanity, and maybe in that part, humanity is a problematic concept. So I think the same thing as leader to the press. So maybe a change in the first part, research at the center of the scientific, I don't know, activities, maybe. And with the concept of humanity, I don't know, maybe change that sentence at all. The center of the scientific, I don't know, activity, knowledge can be. So I don't know. No, the second I don't know how to change it. I think humanity and the press are two different things, actually.
Maybe to move a little bit fast on it, not to invest so much time on this clause. AI serves humanity, mainly or including the oppressed, which would be
Or
better?
maybe this could be another clause, actually.
Another clause?
I don't know. Because it relates to other subject, I guess.
Yeah, we need to proceed. Maybe this will be one of the clauses to be discussed while the event is happening, so we can move forward and hear the fourth group. May we proceed for the fourth group? Does anyone needs to? Okay, so we may proceed to the fourth group.
Okay, we will think harder about this and then we discuss online later on. 4? It's 4? Group 4?
Thank you. So, during a sociology course, Malik conducts interviews in low-income neighborhoods. He feeds transcripts into AI tool that identifies thematic patterns, generates infographics, and even drafts sections of his final report. When presenting his findings, a professor notes that Malik's insights seem surprisingly smooth, lacking the expected struggle of field analysis. Confronted, Malik defends the workflow. I did the field work. The AI just helped me see what I had missed. So with that, we believe that educational institutions should not prohibit or rather encourage AI, but regulate it. So we believe that the interaction back and forth with AI lacks critical thinking, lacks judgment of the researcher that is putting in a command. And we believe also in transparency, like Fort mentioned. When using AI, it is correct and ethic to be transparent about its use. We also believe that the skills and knowledge that are essential for students are to have critical thinking about yourself and your own work, not to be fermented by a narcissistic thinking that you are always right and that your thoughts are correct. And furthermore, because this interaction with AI does not have critical judgment, and it does not talk about the subjectivity of the person. And we believe, furthermore, that relying on AI for qualitative analysis becomes a shortcut of epistemic thinking. So relying on AI, solely on AI, does not allow you to go through the process of getting it wrong and getting it right. We believe that this shortcut makes the research and the learning process to be shortcut in that sense. And we also believe that critical reflexivity, when machines do the pattern recognition, like I said, it's lost. The critical reflexivity is lost when you are relying on AI. You lack creativity and self-judgment when you rely on AI. And without us looking again at what we have written and submitted, we just follow and we don't deal with the judgment on what we have written. We are like following orders and not improving our writing. So we had a big debate in our group about this, whether it can be used as a tool that is accessible for low-income neighborhoods and how it can further make it more accessible for education in low-income neighborhoods. But we also talked about how low-income neighborhoods, by not having pre-education, might rely on AI as they see it as something formal, academic, that they are maybe not able to produce. And that's where we believe there is a little bit of a debate to be had about the impact of AI in low-income neighborhoods, whether it can be used in the benefit of where the government is not allowing education, and whether these people will genuinely be able to produce critical thinking by that use. So I think our title can be critical judgment or critical reflections of, critical judgment. And I don't know if you can.
Yeah, there's a very dense package, right? But critical judgment, critical reflection does reflect the overall reaction of the group. Just one thing regarding the last clause, third clause, right? Yeah, I think we have to be very careful there, because I'm not convinced that the scientific community, could be the ones who are gonna lead the process. Some of the worst crimes against humanity were perpetrated by scientists. Everyone knows the story I'm talking about. Bioethics and all the whole thing of applied ethics began after Second World War precisely because of this. We cannot rely on scientists. Could be computer scientists, any kind of scientist. That's why we need ethics. And ethics refers to all human beings, and therefore the whole thing of humanity should be kept in the third clause, in my opinion. That's basically the whole issue when people are talking about AI research, not only in emerging societies like Brazil, but Stanford, Oxford, Bonn, in Germany, anywhere. You either have humanity-centered AI research, or you just forget about humanity and you think it's only a technological, instrumental technology. And that's where the danger relies.
You'd like to add?
Just a question about the clause itself, the fourth example. So, in my opinion, so far we've agreed on this with the originality of the work of the person. So this researcher is going to a low-income neighborhood and asking his own questions, and then help using AI as a tool to clarify his work, right? This is exactly what we are doing. So he uses a tool, not AI, to generate ideas for him. So I think there's like, this is where we should just like, is there any other information that I'm missing? Because to me, it sounds like it's clear there's no problem in this. So that's what I was gonna ask. Like maybe the clause was something. Thank you.
Actually, we believe that it is not correct use, because when Malik says, I did the field work, the AI just helped me see what I had missed. That is a specific step necessary in research. We cannot shortcut our errors and our, when you learn what you have gotten wrong, you see yourself what you have gotten wrong. When you have critical judgment about your own work and you analyze it yourself to see what you have gotten wrong, that is where critical judgment is necessary in fieldwork. And if he is saying that AI is helping him see what he has missed, he is shortcutting and relying on AI for critical judgment. And that is what we believe is unacceptable.
And the point could be discriminatory or wrong or whatever, because that is something that he didn't see, and he's seeing through the machine.
So the contribution, I'm sorry, you still are gonna mention what's the contribution for the charter? Right? Okay. Please.
Okay. No, I was thinking about what you just said, that, for example, critical reflexivity, I don't know, I'm thinking writing a thesis, for example. Actually, it's my experience. Maybe I'm writing it and I said, it's okay, it's perfect, it's everything correct. But then you I don't know, the first chapter you read it with your thesis supervisor and says, okay, this part is awful, this everything wrong, you have to do it all again. But actually, okay, the difference is in one aspect is a person, in the other part, and when you use ChatGPT is a machine. But it's the same point. Actually, ChatGPT is saying in a formal, subtle way that you are doing everything wrong. So it's not a critic. So how's different? I think is the problem is the inner subjectivity of the person that is writing. So maybe you use ChatGPT and you can develop critical judgment with that feedback of ChatGPT. And maybe you can do it with the supervisor too, or both, I don't know. So,
yeah, but the supervisor is a professional, and maybe it's in board or ethical research in university, or even if he doesn't, or he or she doesn't. So it's kind of different, I guess.
We have to move a little bit fast because we have still more 3.
Thank you all very much for sharing your personal experience and how our center has had an impact and it continue to have an impact in your life. I think I would really like to give you the very last chance. If you have any question, or would you like to have, please go ahead. I cannot go there. Can you?
Let me do this time. Thank you for your interventions, and I cannot see a huge contradiction, and it's wonderful to see a panel with contradiction, with paradoxical motivations. Tell me if you agree or disagree. Such as, for me, the paradox is between the defense of human rights and animal rights and the infrastructure. Considering the history of Brazil and of Latin America, infrastructure integration is a dirty word. It's a synonym of violence, usually to animals, usually to indigenous peoples, to traditional communities who are rarely consulted to make progress take place. So what interests me concerning your experience circulating through spaces of power, how is it when you have this motivation of defending human rights, defending animals?
Or any kind of human control during the process. Not control, right? Yeah. Interact. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone has any comments on our discussions? Supervision.
It's great.
You have more comments?
Okay.
You have more comments?
I'm so sorry. So, to me, I don't know, when you read the case, to me it was clear this is cheating, this is not okay. Like, this is absolutely not an okay case. Like, so I expected stronger, harsher critic from you to this. And I'm really shocked to see, like, you guys are mild. You're like, oh, you should be clear about what you use. Like, because just like our case, this sounds like a really easy case to say, no, this is where you draw the line. That is like, you cannot use AI. I just want to talk about one thing about regulation. When we talk about supervision, this is where it is difficult. We are only talking about ChatGPT right now, but like there are other tools that can avoid that kind of regulation. And we were talking about this, and I don't want to go further into this, but like an institution, an educational institution is not strong enough to regulate anything. They cannot regulate anything. There will be another AI that will avoid that. Like that is not possible. We have to look this matter realistically.
Any comments? I'm running kilometers today.
Oh, sorry. Doing sport is good. The word was erased, like the idea of being human. I would maybe add being sensitive, not lose of mind the notion of sensitivity, being sensitive. The word that came to my mind is sensitivity. To prioritize, stimulate sensitivity.
Just a comment here. I agree with you. We should not allow generative AI for peer review. Otherwise, it won't be a peer. But maybe the professor read all the work and just wrote, oh, you need to improve this, you need to do that, and then go to ChatGPT and write a conclusion note for me. So in this case, what would be the line, you know? I don't know, I'm just thinking about
it. Excuse me, there was something that was said before over there that I thought was maybe we can add, that the author did not consent for their paper to be submitted to ChatGPT. So maybe we can, I thought that was a good point. That's not now in the document, but that at least the author of something should consent to their work. Yeah, that the author should consent to their work being submitted to a AI tool.
a lot of things in the title. To be summarized, you have a.
So first of all, the second to last clause, the stimulate sensitivity, I don't think it means much. And you can ask ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you wish to use to do that. So I think human supervision already encompasses that point. No harm, no foul. And the last one, I think we are having a difference, which is really close to a consensus that AI tool as simply a tool, as it is different than using generative AI. So I think instead of tool, use analysis. I think it's better suited. I don't know. Yes. No, but a tool can be anything. I'm a tool. Sometimes, but the
Ant disagrees.
the AI analysis in that sense, I think it's more appropriate to what we mean.
Just to reply back concerning the notion of sensitivity, from my point of view, the idea was to decenter the regard of human. I think the discussion is often too much centered on human, and I think the notion of sensitivity allows to not lose your mind of this need of regarding the amount of relations, the ensemble of relations, including with non-humans.
So maybe the title human-centered AI? So the title would be? More general? How?
I don't know. Maybe autonomy, responsible use. I don't know. This is only for peer review, right? We can think about it.
So, may we approve with
You wanna say
further
something?
modifications during the event? This document, collaborative document, will be shared with you all, and you all can make modifications and suggestions throughout the event. So, it's approved with further modifications? Would that be all right?
A little bit, yeah.
So let's proceed for the 7th group. And
Where are you?
maybe we have to go a little bit fast, maybe finishing 10 minutes. Would that
Of
be
course, we have
possible?
the human tool here.
Okay, perfect.
I'll be as fast as possible. So our case is called the Collective Project. In a capstone course, students are allowed to choose their tools. A team decides to co-write their paper entirely with the assistance of a custom-trained AI agent. They iterate together with the model, treating it almost as a fifth team member. The result is polished, coherent, and analytically sharp. When they present their process, some faculty admire the innovation. Others argue the students outsource too much of the thinking. So about the first two questions, I think it's not necessary to elaborate further because good points have already been made. And the specific questions are, can co-creation with AI be legitimate academic work? So on that point, we couldn't reach a consensus. I personally believe it is not legitimate academic work. If you use it to generate things beyond what I learned in intellectual property law classes, the human spirit is a good term to think about it. So using AI to make a better Excel sheet because you don't have a clue to use it, that's fine. That you're only using it to as a tool, effectively like a manual tool. But creating text, and even the case discussed before about sociology, I don't think an interview, it all communicates, so I'll elaborate. I don't think using AI for seeing what you couldn't see is honest, because the question, I'm not a sociologist by any means, but I have a clue about it. And choosing the questions is not the only part of interviewing. Interviewing, you are seeing the emotions of the interviewee and any sorts of aspects. So the other part of the group thought that since the AI model was trained by the own students, that the human input is enough to justify its validity, I guess. Legitimacy is another word that can be used. And for our last question, should institutions embrace this as the future of collaborative thinking, or fear it as the death of intellectual independence or autonomy? So, as most things in life, it really depends, because as of now, we are just reaching the first frontiers of AI. It is not possible to elaborate how it will be in 10 years' time. So using it as simply as a tool to maybe find other sources or make pretty graphs because you don't know how to do it, that's okay. But generating text and putting it as a collaborator, I don't think it's very appropriate. And the part of fear of death of intellectual independence or autonomy, it's quite a harsh statement to make, and we don't believe that's the case. The same was said for the internet, for the Gutenberg press. So eventually we'll reach a middle point between letting AI control our lives in the academic sense, and banning it because it's not very productive to ban such a powerful tool. So yes, we are in between the future of collaborative thinking, or fear it as the death of intellectual independence. As for the clause, we have a title. We don't have a clause.
Okay.
The title would be encouraging responsible and targeted regulation of the use for artificial intelligence. Responsible and targeted regulation on the use of artificial intelligence, AI.
So maybe for the clause, it's important to regulate.
Yeah, I guess.
It's general, since you couldn't reach a consensus within the group, and of course we cannot broaden the discussion here with the other groups. Maybe we can actually connect with the fifth clause on the enforcement.
It seems like a good idea.
Okay, so do you have any specific proposal, or should I just write it's important to regulate?
Maybe we could say that it is important to regulate, but also encourage the use of artificial intelligence, because we cannot leave the responsible use of artificial intelligence, because we could not leave the students behind, other students that would use these tools.
Yeah, and I guess that's it.
Okay, so maybe regulation, let's leave out for the fifth clause, because it's more suits here best, and here only to mention the responsible use.
We have one comment here.
I was going to join up that conversation about regulation. Please. It's impossible to regulate. Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. You want to do it. Yes, sure, I want to join you. But are you going to make sure that a person from somewhere else is going to do it? Are you going to be able to enforce another country to regulate? Is EU law going to enforce US, their allies, to change their regulation. That's impossible. We have to look at the matter realistically. That's why we avoided to talk about it, because this is the biggest debate. Like there's no way to regulate, and we need to find a way to regulate this.
But we need to find a way.
Fine, but it's impossible.
So we don't need to find it anymore.
You don't have any hope on that.
That's
Okay, I see. Does anyone have a contrasting point of view, please? Anyone who doesn't speak so far, maybe?
1 minute.
Just short, in the same aspect that he said, actually the problem is not to regulate, it's control. So we can regulate everything, but the problem is to actually control that activity. For example, in the peer review, we can regulate to say, okay, you can't use AI tools to make a peer review on a journal. But actually, who is going to be with you when you are doing the review? So
How to keep track of it? Okay. Does anyone who hasn't speak so far wants to join the discussion? Yes, please.
I would just like to add that I think it's important to educate the people in the use of the AI. So, of course, we cannot control it. We cannot. I mean, the limits are really not so clear. But if you educate the people from a younger age how to integrate the use of such a tool and also integrate it in the schools and within the families, I think this could be a way to have some limits on the use of it. Yes, just
To
an
set
idea.
boundaries on the use.
Yes, the education is important, I think.
Yes.
Thank you.
And targeted education, maybe, on the title. Group, do you agree? Maybe education? Education?
I think just like in any law, the custom of the use is what legitimizes what it will actually be in fact. So we can regulate it, and that can be something, but like you said, not control it. So the approach of making it a custom to be ethical use is the approach, I believe.
I added literacy in the title, maybe for further discussion. I should be saying anything because I'm a moderator, but I'm meddling, sorry.
No, I think it's fine. And we could also add to further and encourage in the proper text to educate and encourage the use, the responsible use. Educate? Yes. And about the impossibility of regulating AI, yes, indeed. But on the other hand, we have I can do an analogy on doping, anti-doping regulations in the Olympics, you know. And even then, by educating, the regulation comes by itself, I guess. And other countries will differ on its thoughts. In Germany, I can go 250 kilometers per hour in the Autobahn, in unrestricted roadways. But here in Brazil, the max limit is 110. There's a very good freeway nearby, which has few radars. I can do 250 also, but that's wrong. And I have a driver's license yet, and I do the speed limit, and that's it. I think we educate on the responsible use of AI. There will be bad faith actors, but even then we can solve by other means, like just like Googling a closed book test. It's I think we will eventually reach a point that our current methods of evaluating will not disappear completely. They will simply naturally conform to AI usage.
One. Yes, sir. Sure, please.
Let's go. Let's go.
Please, you have the floor.
So thank you for all of the liberal thought. I enjoyed that. I actually enjoyed that. But I think human beings are not that good by nature. So So that I understand that, but you're not driving 250 because you're gonna get penalty, and that penalty is within the Brazilian law, right? But AI regulation is not gonna happen. China is gonna have its own regulation, and it's gonna probably damage your own regulation, your own users. So if you use a Chinese AI to get things done, there will be a way to avoid that regulation. I'm so sorry, I really share the optimistic behavior, but like I have enough education to counter that. I don't believe that human nature is that good by nature. Thank you.
Does anyone have want the floor?
I just must add to what you said. We talk about moral, we talk about ethics, the professor there, we talk about being human and oppressed and leaders and laws and education. At the end, we have human nature. There are laws against stealing. There are no thieves. There are laws against murdering. There are no murderers. We need to find a way to minimize the damage. That's all.
Yes. Want to add something?
I really share this view of my colleagues, and I think it is interesting that at least we didn't think of banning the AI, right? Because we all understand that banning or getting to forbid it is not a solution. So maybe this could be also a beginning. And I agree with the liberal answer wouldn't save us at all. Thank you.
Okay, heated discussion. Does anyone wants to a quick word, because we have to proceed voting and ending for lunch.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a bit on the customary law point that I brought. I think customary law is based on what everyone believes is correct and the way people actually put it into practice. And that is what forms customary law. When we're talking about artificial intelligence, we need to see how people are using it. How is everyone using it? Because if we are saying it's wrong, and everyone is using it that way, maybe it should be customary law to include that in regulations. That is what I meant with my point. We need to advance in the regulations with how everyone is doing it, but that needs to be with the focal point of ethics. So.
I've been informed that I have 30 seconds, so I'll be fast. Okay, I can't argue really. And another issue on that level is that AI, as of now, takes a lot of computational power, and that computational power is in the hands of very few people. So not only you have law between states, but you have also the powers of big corporations, which doesn't make the thing any better. So yeah, that's fair. 30 seconds done.
Anyone else would like to add something, some comment? You're okay. Okay.
Because we're going abstract, so I thought I'm going to join. I think it's also important to consider in what context we are having this discussion. What is the university in which artificial intelligence is being used? In the video, she talked about, education, the purpose of education is critical thinking. But then the example she gave was preparing for the job market and problem solving. That's not critical thinking for me. That is the neoliberal form of education. If our goal is to build communities and work for a better world, then I don't think we would have this discussion, actually.
That's a great point. Anyone would like to add something? Maybe you? Okay, before we finish this session, I would like to ask Professor. I know he asked for ChatGPT to write a charter for us. I would like just to compare with what we have achieved, not much. today. What? Nah, maybe, I don't know. We don't have regulations, but I still believe in regulation.
Well, I don't want to read the whole thing because it's already far ahead. I could send it to someone so you can share it. It's interesting because sort of like what ChatGPT gave me as a charter. I just simply asked, give me a charter for AI in education, and of course I got it in the first 30 seconds. And it does have a lot of points nicely formulated that we were discussing here. I think you could agree with a lot of points that it wrote. I can give you some of the sort of like the headings that it has. Sort of like, so there's a preamble, then there's human-centered purpose of AI, there's equity and inclusion, which we discussed, there's transparency and explainability, which we discussed, there's data privacy and protection, which I think we haven't discussed so much, there's accountability, which we discussed, there's fairness and non-discrimination, which we also had, there's pedagogical integrity, which is of course key in the topic of education. There's professional development. There's sustainability and social responsibility, and continuous oversight and ethical review. So I think if we, it would be tempting to just take that and then said add and edit. Let's edit that, but then we would already be following the lead of AI rather than sort of like So I think we could use a lot of the stuff, but it could be very dangerous to say let's write it first and then add a little here and there, because then we would already be, put into a certain pattern or path of thinking, rather than sort of like developing it freely like we did here.
Thank you, Professor. Professor would like to add something?
In other words, we did a great job.
We did a great job indeed. Would you like to add something before we finish?
Where are we now? At what point?
Just told us about his charter from ChatGPT.
Yeah,
We
okay.
did a great job.
It's already done?
We're going to share with you later the link for editions, right?
Yes. So, but the ChatGPT thing?
It's not my thing.
It's not. It's
Who did it? What?
Yeah. Doesn't want. Maybe it's because from a university computer trying to access it. Oh, it worked. So how can we do it? Do you have a suggestion of input? It's already done. Oh. Oh, I see. Now I got it. Okay, sorry. So yes, is this last clause approved with modifications, further modifications? So very well. We have a small charter here, but with 4 clauses, we could put a lot of thinking on it. And of course, to create a charter is not an easy task. Some bodies, official bodies, take days, months to do it. Years maybe. And on this topic, I wouldn't be surprised that we needed more than 1 hour and a half to do it. So of course, we did a great job today. That's why we didn't need a consensus here. Today we didn't look for consensus, not even among groups, but it's important to put effort on in thinking about it, not only trusting, of course, on automated things, tools, seeing those tools as what they are, tools, to worry about the data bank that is behind that tool, the results it provides. Of course, it's a very good resource to support, of course, but it must be always remembered, it's a support. And it, of course, artificial intelligence in today's society has to be human-centered. We need to always have a focus on the human part of the equation. So I now have the floor for my partners here.
I would vote in you for
Oh.
president. I would.
Just
Yeah, so
say
please.
thank you and yes, go ahead.
Let's go for it. Guilherme, do you want to say some words?
Yes, actually, just to thank you all for the participation. Some participated a little bit more than the others, but thank you for everyone. Now we're going to have lunch. I'm
Yes,
hungry.
and before some information,
Okay,
important
not
information.
yet.
Laila, if you want to join us. But yeah, first, it's lunchtime, so we're now going to lunch, and then we are going to go back for the second workshop.
So we will be meeting again here at 1 p.m. We all understand that maybe the time could be a little bit short, so we would have like 10 minutes of grace there, but we will be waiting here. And now the lunch will be in the 32 room. Predio, right? We will go together. But then we will go
So, yes. More information, guys. Don't.
about the posters?
Yes, about the posters. So you all received the info kit with the information about regarding the posters. There are 2 sessions, one tomorrow and the other one on Thursday. If you don't have the time or have any doubts, please reach out. Everyone will present their posters during this time. People that will be interested in your poster will come at the poster and ask for clarifications on your research. And it's important to remember that we are voting for the best poster of the conference, but the voting is only through the conference app, DAD Events. You can download it in the App Store, or you can access through your browser if you don't want to download it. But the voting is exclusively in the app, either by the browser or the app in itself.
And we would also like to ask you if you already filled the form for the trips. Okay, thank you. And also to remind you all that these poster sessions would be a bit of more like in a free, modern way. So you will be explaining your research to each person that is arriving, and also asking questions after reading it that you have prepared, right? So let's go for lunch. Yeah, we would go all together. So keep in the group, please.
Yeah. So thank you again, everyone, and have a nice event during the course of the week.